Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and M-Sculpt. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 503 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Danny Gambino. And if you want to hear a chiropractic love story, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Danny Gambino. Really excited for this episode. I might say that about every episode. But this one's really special. We're going to get an update on Kim Gambino, his wife. We're going to talk all things chiropractic. I mean, if you guys would have heard the conversation that we were just having off camera before we jumped on here, wow, so much love and passion for what the profession has provided to both of us. We went back and talked about chiropractic biophysics. We talked about supporting the sacred trust and guarding it. I mean, so many different levels of belief and, passion for chiropractic. But before we get into episode 503, I'm going to let everyone know the big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? First things, First Amendment. Freedom of speech is so important. It's really important for chiropractors. So let's not forget our languaging. Let's not forget the things that chiropractic stands for. Two of those things that lives inside of that zone of the First Amendment are family health freedom and medical freedom. We really believe that there should be more of a charge forward for keeping family health freedom safe and protected. And I believe chiropractic has been doing that for a long, long time. Next thing we do is we do believe in protecting, like I said earlier, BJ Palmer's sacred trust. If you guys don't know what that means, go to your favorite search engine and look for BJ Palmer's last words. You're going to know so much more about chiropractic than you previously did, I guarantee you. We support subluxation-based chiropractic. I can't believe we actually have to say that, but we do. And then lastly, the adjustment's the most powerful part of chiropractic and the philosophy. And we believe that when someone gets adjusted, man or woman, the physical, when they get adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And I know we're going to get down on some of that stuff today because Dr. Danny's wife, Kim, has been on a health healing journey over the past couple of years. So I'm really excited to host this show today. And we're 2 minutes in. So Danny Gambino, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jim. It's a super honor to be here. Chiro Hustle is just now in its just burgeoning stage, and I'm super excited to be part of this program.
Well, I got your CV, I got your bio, and all the decorations that you've had. I mean, I don't even think you went back like that far. You just showed me like 5 years of accomplishments, which I think is pretty cool. So you've definitely had a lot of impact on a lot of lives in chiropractic, but I'm most interested in your life and your journey. And I think this is my favorite part of any interview I ever do, honestly, is like, what is your story? How did you find chiropractic?
Well, that goes back into the early 80s. I was a decathlete in college. My family had been going to a chiropractor in New York. I was away at college, so I didn't get the memo. And I came home one summer. One of my brothers, I got 5. He says, 4. I'm one of them. And he says, oh, you should go to a chiropractor. I'm like, oh, go to a what? A what? He says, yeah, you should go to a chiropractor. I go, why? Why would I do that? And he says, well, it helps your nervous system. I was studying biology. So that made sense to me. And he says, plus it'll help maybe with some of your, performances. So decathlon, is 10 events. It's kind of a strange event because it's one event, but it's really 10. So you got to do 10 things to count as one. It's kind of bizarre. But anyway, I had been keeping track of, as much physiology as I knew at the time. And I went to this guy's office. He didn't really teach me much. I went there 3 times a week for whatever summer break we had. And then the following year, was just loaded with meet records and school records and personal bests, really logarithmically off the chart of what I was doing. So I couldn't figure out anything else that would have done it besides getting adjusted. So the next summer I go back there, I'm getting adjusted again. And I see this poster on his wall, and it says, "We chiropractors, deal with work with the subtle substance of the soul." I said, it's a strange thing to have in like a doctor's office, right? We release the imprisoned impulse, the tiny rivulet of force that emanates from the mind and flows over cells to nerves to cells, and stirs them into life. I was like, holy shit, this is me. I'm doing this, whatever this is. I don't even know what chiropractors really do. I don't know why. I don't know any anatomy. I don't know how they do what they do, but if they can elicit this human expression out of my body, and it just shows up in this one sliver of human performance, all in. So I remember being stunned. I was just like, I had this aha moment. And I went to a payphone. That's when they had payphones. And I dropped in my quarter and I called my mom. And I'm like, Mom, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And she goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, I'm going to be a chiropractor. And she says, okay, that's nice. What time? Are you going to be home for dinner? And I remember going, oh, okay, whatever. I hung up and I walked around the city for a while. And it was just so easy. It was a very easy decision. And so I wound my way back to, to Atlanta from New York. It was a foreign city back then to me, being a New York City kid. And, I was mentored by some of the greatest in the profession, these legends, these icons. They belong in the museum, right? Most notably, Dr. Sid Williams. And everybody says, oh, I could never understand them. And I just was like I was staring at like, I don't want to say like a circus animal, but I didn't know what to think of the guy. And he started talking about stuff I didn't understand, but I just felt drawn to it. And I said, I have to know what this guy's talking about. So I just basically sat at the feet of this guy and learned as much as I could while I was there. And, of course, attended DE and really practiced developing the idea of how chiropractic is so vastly different from any other healthcare model that exists. There's three models, right? There's the allopathic model, as fighting everything with drugs and surgery or radiation. Then there's the complementary and alternative medicine. That's fighting disease with everything but drugs, radiation, and surgery. And then there's chiropractic, which doesn't fight anything. Fighting disease is a losing game. But if we can tap into that human expression, that life force, that prana, that chi, and elicit and tease some of that, those sparks into a flame, people obviously physiologically respond better, musculoskeletally they respond better, but more importantly, they respond better, as an integrated web of connected human beings. They don't litter as much. They stop beating their kids. They take better care of their bodies in all other aspects. And this ramification is what I really was all over. And I'm like, well, I got to be really good at this so I can be really good at that. And then I just went crazy, in the last 5 years. Maybe I got all these accolades in the last 5 years or 6 years, but we've been priming a pump for 30.
Yeah, I know that was our initial talking point when we started talking. Is it's kind of like the karmatic wheel. If you push it really slow, it comes back really slow. The law of reciprocity. If you give a lot, sometimes it comes back to you. And I think that's really special. Is I was interviewing John DeMartini once, and I was just asking him about how he got to where he is in his career. And he's like, overnight success took 25 years. And I think that rings really true. Is a lot of times it takes a career to find that level of the accolades come in. And it's, for lack of better resource to say, it's like lifetime achievement awards. Like, you have to serve for a long time before you get recognized for service. And we were
Mhm.
talking about vitality earlier. And I think that there's a lot to be said if people knew that chiropractic was the vitalistic source for them. And if they even knew what the word vitalism meant, they would all be like really interested in getting some more of that.
Absolutely. For
so
sure.
so I don't think like early on when you're going to the chiropractor for your decathlon like training, they were doing anything other than optimizing you and giving you a higher level of expression of life.
Right. Of
And
course.
you having access to Sid, I just interviewed Joe Esposito this morning, and he was telling me stories about Sid too,
Uh-huh.
and just how valuable it was to learn from that man and to pay attention to him. He's like, yeah, the dude would lock the doors for 3 hours, and you'd have to listen to him lecture.
You know, I went on a hunch that this guy knew what he was talking about. I didn't really, I was skeptical, right? Like, oh, he's just a college president. Okay, we're just going to learn how to push on bones and anatomy. Yay. Um, but there was a bit of me that trusted him more than the bit that was skeptical. And then when I started to embody some of the principles that he talked about, I saw them as true for me as well. And then I was all in. And whatever the guy said was golden. And love
Yeah.
him or hate him. And to tell you the truth, he was irascible, right? he, he was non contained and sometimes difficult to get along with. But uh, he- I think 40% of the chiropractors on planet Earth came from his vision. So, we owe the guy a debt of gratitude.
Well, I think it's always the ones that push the boundaries that are hardest to accept and the hardest to understand through. And I have 3 of his books right over here. I went to my first DE this past year, and I just see how he even has a legacy that lasts beyond his physical body, and how he still has an influence that's helping the future of chiropractic. It's teaching the science, the philosophy, the art, the family part of chiropractic. Like there is a part of family in chiropractic. And I really believe that that's what he did is he brought families together, and
Hmm.
being one of like the old school like seminars and gatherings for chiropractic, he did something darn right because people are still carrying on that legacy.
Right on. Right on. Just had a birthday on the 18th, if he was still alive.
Nice. Yeah. So let's get more into like parts. Let's give it an advice column. Like let's just talk practice growth for a minute. Like if you gave some just ABCs to somebody that's watching this today and you're like, hey, you might want to consider doing this if you wanted to have a successful chiropractic practice, what would you suggest to them?
The first thing I'd say is you have to know your why and you have to stay connected to it. Now, the bigger your why, the easier it is to overcome obstacles. If your why is just to pay your bills, that'll work for a bit. But then you're going to get something, you're going to come up against something that's going to challenge that because it's a small why. You get a bigger why, it's easier to overcome obstacles. So know your why, um, and stay connected to it. However, you do that through readings or meditations or other people, other practitioners, or teaching or being with students or whatever it is. So stay connected to your why. The other thing is to tell the truth. Tell the truth. I don't have all the answers. Maybe I could help. I'm not sure. In the beginning of graduating school, I was just parroting whatever the greats were saying that I should say. I was just cocky and yeah, chiropractic is going to get you well. Now I believe that, but I always say, let's see if we can help. Chiropractic has, you haven't tried everything, unless you've tried chiropractic. So let's see. I don't care what it is, but you don't need whatever's going on in your body plus, a compromised nervous system. So that's one thing. So tell the story. Tell it often and in varied ways. Not everyone can hear it the same way. So you have to develop how you tell the chiropractic story, how above, down, inside out can relate to that person.
Hmm.
Um, and then you have to know how to close people. You're selling an idea. You're selling. We're in the business of selling. Right now, we're in an exchange on a podcast, and we're selling to the people who are listening. We're selling to each other, and when you're in a chiropractic clinic or a chiropractic practice, and somebody's coming into you, and they have maybe a very, very small piece of the pie of what they think chiropractic is. It's good for back pain. Okay, great. Like, we don't want to bash them over the head with innate intelligence and reconnecting spiritual and physical, life force. Sometimes it's a little too much, right? You have to
It
understand
is.
they're not where you are. So you have to learn how to tell a story, know how to close people. And that's really the important thing. You have to do it ethically and responsibly and professionally. That's the
Mm.
other thing. We don't need to be sleazy. We don't need to have like gimmicky. Just be honest with people, right? The more we espouse the allopathetic model, the more we're going to like sink ourselves. We want to stay away from that model. Like, the doctor knows everything. No, the doctor has a skill set. You don't call a doctor when your toilet's backed up. You call his other specialist, right? So that's really important as well. Um, and everybody's got an agenda. We want to help people, but we want to help them where they're at to where they want to go. Not, well, I'm going to now make you a vegan or a carnivore or athlete or whatever. No, we're going to make you the best version of how you can see yourself. Hold them in that space. So, chiropractors, yes, we're doctors. Yes, we're teachers. Yes, we're coaches. But sometimes we got to be coaches. Sometimes we got to be like a parent. Sometimes we got to be, a task master. It's really
Yeah.
important.
I saw this saying from Fred Barge that I did a screenshot of, and it says, "It is no time to crawl into bed with the medical profession. Even rats leave a sinking ship."
That's a Barge comment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Dr. Fred
and
Barge, good God.
and you want to talk about like the allopathic model? Like, that guy had like so much foresight with that whole, like, that little saying right there, like, hits
Hmm.
home, I'm sure, for so many chiropractors, because they're on the teeter totter. They're like, do we go this way and get comfortable with that, or do we stay true to our science, philosophy, and art? And we help people with thoughts, traumas, toxins. We help the physical, chemical, emotional. Like, what are we doing? And now, what I love the most, structural. Like,
Hmm.
form follows function.
Yeah.
And if we can promote a better quality of life through actually having a better quality of spine, now it becomes easier for chiropractors to stand in their power. Because, I meet people all the time, and I'm sure you've done this, but say, hey, put your head out and take a deep breath. And I'll do it back here. Which one is easier? And you can
Hmm.
see people's physiology shift, and they understand why chiropractic matters and why spinal health matters. And I think that as we go through the next, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, chiropractic will eventually become that standalone profession that's well respected, that everybody's kids, obviously, you want to go to college to be a chiropractor. The world needs you more now than ever. And I think that that's been a mantra of the profession for a long time. It's never been a better time to be a chiropractor.
I completely agree. And and we've said that, and that's like a mantra that we say all the time. But if you look at the state of the world, you know, th- there's another college, we'll say, that offers a degree in chiropractic. I wouldn't call it a chiropractic college, but it offers a degree in chiropractic, and then just started to offer an osteopathic degree as well. And they're just adding to the chaos. People don't need more, outside in, uh, modalities. They need to know that the health comes from within, and that's why, the other thing, for if you're going to talk about advice, you got to educate. Now, educate, like Jim Sigafu said, he still lives with me, so it's not a big deal. But uh, you know, the word educate comes from educare, which means to draw out that which is within. You want to elicit that knowingness, that truth that is in that particular practice member or person on the street, to get in touch with that which is true for them, and bring that out in them. That's what education means.
Mm.
And so everybody gets educated a little bit differently. Some people are better verbally, some people are better visually, some people are better, on diagrams and structurally, and they see an x-ray and they get it. So it's going to be different for everyone. And you really have to, have a diverse toolbox to be able to get to as many people as possible.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Life Chiropractic College West, and Sculpt. Let's hustle. You gave me a huge idea there. We need to start creating TikToks of doctors' reports.
Dude, that's so important. I mean, I've given, I don't know how many million, I don't know, not a million, but, hundreds and hundreds of doctors' reports and lectures and, mini report of findings and monster report of findings and group report of findings and individual ones. And then I've, talked to lay people and students and pre-chiropractic people and all of this stuff. And what I found is that I can get bored of just talking about the safety pin cycle and, above, down, inside out. So I would find ways in nature that would, mimic what it is I wanted to say to our, whoever I was talking to. And that's really important. There's hundreds of phenomenal chiropractors on this planet doing just beautiful work. And they have many, many different ways of explaining what it is that they do. And some are visual, some are auditory, some are kinesthetic, And I think it's going to take all of it to get that message out there.
Yeah, it's going to take all hands on deck for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should spend some time over the last 10 minutes of the interview talking about updates on Kim.
Sure.
She was on the show. She was just coming out of like the fog of becoming her again.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been working on writing a book. Let's talk a little bit about where she is today and then maybe lead into the book a little bit.
Sure. Well, she was here on a video conference with somebody else, and then she just took the car and took off into town to go do some shopping. That's been a new development, her driving. And I never get tired of the little teeny breakthroughs. I cry all the time. When she started driving, she's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "I'm not crying. You're crying." And, and because, during the healing phase, it was so bad that she wasn't walking, she wasn't talking, she wasn't having bodily functions that she could control, and it was a mess. And the worst part of it all is that I never knew if she was ever going to recover. I had hope. I had like this kind of internal bravado. I wanted her to, I'm going to make her healthy and all this kind of stuff. And of course, that leads to a whole host of problems within the caretaker. There's an ebb and a flow, and there is a time and place for everything. And that was a hard learning lesson for me. This past 15 months have been very humbling in a lot of ways because I can't control the outcome. But it's also been a lesson in surrender, a lesson in deeper loving, and a lesson in allowing. And that's really an amazing thing. She's talking now about, working out, which she had no interest in working out 3 or 4 months ago. She just didn't want to have it. Now she's like, I need to move my body. Da, 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 da. Now she's having these bigger dreams. Again, we're talking about our pet project. We'll say we have this pet project of a chiropractic school, right? A chiropractic school. What would be your ideal chiropractic school if you didn't have to worry about CCE and you have to worry about money and you have to worry about what would you put into the school so that the student, when that student matriculate gets out, what are they able to do? Oh man, anything was. We were saying, okay, first of all, we got to teach them how to cook. We got to teach them how to grow. We got to teach them how to live in a natural lifestyle. We got to teach them how to raise kids. We got to teach them how to home birth. We got to teach them like all of these things, which are not necessarily in curriculum, not from a medical standpoint, from like a school of natural law. People need to know that their bodies are capable of birthing children without, epidurals and C-sections and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, medical emergencies. I've been through a medical emergency. I know what it looks like. It's a very small section of what we call healthcare. It's putting people back together and letting NA do its job. So there's just so much that we talk about, and it gets us fired up all the time because, okay, who are we going to have? Um, uh, let's have Gandhi. He's going to teach us, right? Because we have fictitious professors come. What about we're going to have Hannibal come? That's a guy who crossed mountains with elephants. That guy's got a can-do attitude. And so we say, well, okay, so we have, art, science, philosophy, uh, you know, sections of this, and who's teaching it. And then she says, oh, it's going to be like a like a Hogwarts chiropractic school. It's absolutely magical. I'm like, yeah, because we have to have, magic. Magic has to be in there. And where do we get this magic? And then we have to learn about indigenous peoples and the rituals and magics that they do. And it's just so much fun just talking about it. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll have a school here in Mexico.
Well, hearing about the dream and hearing about like the vision and hearing about her recovery, I'm just gonna let people know like Dr. Kim and Dr. Danny were in an accident down in Mexico, and I was reading Dr. Danny's daily updates, and I couldn't help but being drawn in daily and daily and daily, and seeing the amount of community that was supporting and the outpouring intention on her coming back on track and bringing her back to where she is today. Like there are probably millions upon millions of prayers that were cast out over that time. And there is power in prayer, and there's power in the adjustment. And I think that there's things to be said about that. But as I started to like get drawn in daily, I would read these like posts that were like long. Like I'm standing in line to get like I'm standing in line to get like a coffee, and I'm like, I'm still not done reading this. And I'd be sitting in my car for the next day, and I'd be like ready to go into somewhere, and the post would hit, and I'd read like the update about the sleep, or about the outbursts, or about the caregivers, or about the next thing. And I was invested in the recovery also. And I believe it brought me closer to you guys.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. One of the reasons it started as a practical update, right? People want to know how she's doing. A lot of people love her and care about her. And so that was the premise of it. But the other thing was that I knew that if I could keep people engaged in the story of this miracle that was unfolding, that people were paying attention. People paying attention, they had positive thoughts and prayers. Easily, if not more than 50% of her recovery was because of the non-physical stuff that was happening. The prayers, the intentions, the thoughts, the people were fasting, people were burning candles, people were just loving on their loved ones a little bit more. And all of that energy, all of that focused love, really, I think was the main driving factor in her getting well. And she was able to receive it without her educated intelligence because, for 4 months, she has no memory. The first 4 months after the accident, she has zero memory of anything happening. And yet she was still receiving these, downloads of prayers and love. And I cannot thank our community enough because no man is an island. I did not bring her back. Maybe I drove the direction of what to do. Certainly, there is power in prayer, and that was one of the main reasons that she came back. She has such a big community that loves and cares for her that she was able to draw in and bypass her intellect at the time to be able to receive this healing energy.
Yeah, super powerful, and once again, it takes a village to do anything, and many hands make light work. And I think that that's more of a chiropractic segue than anything, because there is healing in the adjustment, and there's a lot of people that have experienced miracles from just one chiropractic adjustment. But you took her down to life, or you took her down to Atlanta. Talk a little bit about how she was taken care of and where you took her to.
So we brought her after researching a bunch of different brain rehab clinics literally around the world, and narrowed down to the States, and narrowed down to just a handful. And then the clear um, choice was Neurolife Institute, which is a part of Life University in Atlanta, Marietta. And all the docs, all the staff, they had read the updates. It's like having the most incredible patient history when she walked in. And I'll never forget the first time she's had a really rough night the night before, because we flew in, and although we gave us a couple of days to recover, she was having a really rough day. So that morning, no sleep, and she rolled in stumbling, and they were all over her. And I remember Dr. Dom Federley is the director now. He was the head clinician there, and he says, "Do you want to take a break and rest a bit, or do you want to just get started?" And she, she was just had that stone face, and she's just, "Let's go." And that, to me, just epitomizes her get it done attitude. So the Neurolife Clinic, um, you know, they accommodated our schedules. They accommodated her uh, good days and her bad days, and they adapted amazingly to her needs of the day, which changed. In my chiropractic practice, we have people have ups and downs and setbacks, but it's nothing like a traumatic brain injury where the setback is zero sleep, or the set is, uh, you know, emotional outbursts, or absolute confusion. And they were just able to roll and love on her, and just be like very non-confrontational. And they weren't trying to force their agenda. They were just trying to eke out a little bit more ease into her system. And it was just a beautiful thing to witness, to know that somebody else cared for her almost as much as I did.
So let me ask you, this is probably a big one. What's it like to have her back?
It's like Christmas Day, man. Every day is like Christmas Day.
Yeah. Over 503 episodes. I don't know if I've ever gotten quite the moment that we just had there. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And that's a big thing, is everybody should just always, when they get the chance to like listen to our messages, love your loved ones a little bit more. Hold them closer when you get moments with them. Don't take the days for granted. Don't take the special moments for granted. Love on your loved ones, and just know that the time is precious. The time does matter. And just really, really, really thankful that you guys are living this love story and you're able to share that with the world. I know that you're creating a book, 98% done. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the title is it's a working title, When the Levee Breaks. It's a love story. It's a story of hope. It's a story of perseverance. It's a story of kind of what it's like to be a man. I mean, I looked for a book that was similar. There isn't one, so I had to write it. But a majority of men will leave an injured spouse or a terminally ill spouse, or they'll just do some other stupid things. And I can't figure out why, because, men can go to war, men can die, men can kill. But to be in that caring stage, you could say, well, it's not really in our nature to care like that. It's in our nature to support and protect. That's what we do. And that's what I feel that is also another message in there. I mean, I was flying by the seat of my pants. I had moments of doubt. I had moments of absolute abject despair. Couldn't go on anymore. I couldn't make it another day, but I could make it another hour. And so I went another hour, and sometimes crawled back into unconsciousness and sleep, praying to be relieved from this kind of pain. It was anguish and pain. And to be able to stand in that emotion that painful emotion, and to get the next thing done took a lot out of me. And I've built up some muscle around that as well. So you were saying about being appreciative and don't take things for granted. It's hard not to take things for granted, because when they're going is easy, they're going is easy and they take it for granted.
Mm.
But it's a muscle. And if you can gain in gratitude and gain traction in appreciation of, you know, the weather that we're having here, the love that we have for each other, the appreciation for a well-cooked meal, anything. I mean, there's no wrong time to be appreciative, and you can always double down on love. So that's one theme in the book, is that no matter how far you think you're at your end of your rope, love doesn't care. Love says, I got plenty. I got plenty. What else you got? Come on, bring it. And you can always go a level deeper. And I really learned, I consider myself a, lover of life. And this really was able to, um, it was really able to elicit another level of being able to love another person, because that never goes away, right? The love that we received from all of our friends and our Chiro Nation out there, that never was wasted. And the love always hit the mark. And I think that that's really important to understand. I've had recently just had a friend pass away, and the memories and the love that we shared as teammates and friends is forever. It doesn't diminish over time, and that's a beautiful thing.
Well, I love your heart. I love your spirit. I love your intention. I think it's been a really great conversation we've had today about chiropractic, your life, Kim's recovery, and the impending book. At this juncture, is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience today?
No, I mean, if chiropractic is going to continue, um, the the chiropractor has to develop him or herself in any way possible, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, educationally, et cetera, business wise, et cetera. I have a young grandson. He's a little over a year old, and I said to my son, the best thing you can do for him is to be the best version of yourself, to love on your wife, my daughter-in-law, even more. And that's what they'll see. Be calm. That he's going to know when you're upset, but how you handle it is going to be a completely different animal, and he's going to learn from that. So be the best version of yourself, and you'll be the best parent ever.
And being a good man can shift the future of humanity. And that's really, what I love about this show is we get a chance to get the salt of the earth stories from people. We get a chance to get the ethos out of people. We get a chance to share the one love for this one profession, which is chiropractic. That's phenomenal. I really appreciate you sharing so much with us today, and just so thankful that you're in my life. And I'm thankful that I get a chance to get a better relationship with you and Kim moving forward. And bravo to her recovery. It's really special to so many people, as you know, and probably most special to you and your family. So my prayers are always with you guys. My intention was always there for you. And I know that there were a lot of other people out there doing similar methods. So thank you to everybody out there that was along for that journey, still along for the journey. And when people get to the end of this episode, if they want to support your book, where would you send them to?
I have a working Substack blog right now. That's probably the best place, because that's where I'll put up the updates and how to get it when it comes out and whatnot.
And what's the Substack?
I don't know. It's some crazy Substack link.
So
it's under Dr. Danny Gambino, so maybe they'll find it.
Search Dr. Danny Gambino on Substack. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Have a great day. And just really thankful for you taking the opportunity to share with our audience your episode 503.
Right on, man. My favorite numbers now.
And
thanks for all you do, Jim. Keep up the great work.
Hey man, it's a passion project for me, and it's all love. And I played soccer for 22 years. You played a little rugby, and I was always told to leave it all in the field. And that's what I do with this work. And every episode, I just leave it all in the field. And that's the spirit that's inside of me. It keeps burning brighter and brighter. Like we got on today's pre-chat, and I'm like, I feel like a lion. No, I feel like a rhinoceros. Like put them together. I feel like that. So I appreciate the sentiment. And I close out by telling people, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. Thanks, Dr. Danny.
Right on. Take care.
Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.